reporting about Donald Trump and Elon Musk's illegal federal buyout of federal workers. This time by a restraining order that is preventing Elon Musk and Donald Trump's illegal buyout of federal workers to force them to resign or to get fired. By which judge? And out of what state? Well, let's figure that out in today's video. This article is by ABC News. The article is titled, "Judge Temporarily Blocks Trump's Federal Government Employee Buyout." And the article reads, a federal judge on Thursday temporarily blocked the Trump administration and DOGE head Elon Musk from implementing their, quote, fork in the road federal employee buyout offer that was emailed to federal employees, including some judges, until at least Monday. U.S. District Judge George Toole Jr. set a Monday hearing to consider further blocking the so-called, quote, fork in the road, end quote, offer. Quote, I enjoined the defendants from taking any action to implement the so-called, quote, fork in the road, or fork directive, end quote, pending the completion of briefing and oral arguments on the issues, end quote. O'Toole said, quote, I believe that's as far as I want to go today. The judge described the brief hearing as a, quote, table-setting session, quote, just to schedule arguments for Monday afternoon. He did not say anything about the merits of the dispute over the buyout. Lawyers for the Department of Justice said they would notify every federal employee who is subject to the buyout. More than 2 million federal employees had faced a midnight Thursday deadline to accept the Trump administration's, quote, deferred resignation, quote, offer, as O'Toole considered an 11th hour request to block the buyout from moving forward. 4 unions representing a combined 800 million federal civil servants argued that the offer is unlawful, arbitrary, and would result in a, quote, dangerous one-two punch to the federal government. In a Thursday evening filing following the judge's ruling, lawyers for the Justice Department warned against any further delay of the buyout, telling the judge that extending the delay would have, quote, remarkably disruptive, inequitable repercussions. The DOJ attorneys argued that the buyout is an instrumental tool in Trump's plan to reform the federal workforce. Quote, upon his re-election to office, President Trump immediately set to work to transform the federal workforce, end quote. The filing said, quote, animating these and other critical reforms is the recognition that the federal workforce must be streamlined to be more efficient and to better serve the American people, end quote. Quote, extending the deadline for the acceptance of deferred resignation on its very last day will markedly disrupt the expectations of the federal workforce, inject tremendous uncertainty into a program that scores of federal employees have already availed themselves of, and hinder the administration's efforts to reform the federal workforce, end quote, the lawsuit said. The filing argued that 4 unions who brought the case can't establish standing to bring the case to or demonstrate that the Trump administration is breaking the law by implementing the buyout. If the court issues an injunction, they argued that any relief should be limited to the employees represented by the unions themselves, not the entire federal workforce. Judge O'Toole set the Thursday afternoon hearing to consider a request by 4 federal unions to issue a temporary restraining order that would suspend Thursday's deadline for the buyout and require the Office of Personnel Management to provide a legal basis for the unprecedented offer, which offered to continue to pay federal employees through September 30th, 2025, if they resigned by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Quote, first, the government will lose expertise in the complex field and program that Congress has by statute directed the executive to faithfully implement, end quote, the lawsuit said. Second, when they can't, positions become politicized as this administration seeks to do. Partisanship is elevated over ability and truth to the detriment of agency missions and the American people, end quote. The judge's ruling comes as at least 40,000 federal workers, roughly 2% of the civilian federal workforce, have already accepted the deferred resignation offer to leave the federal government since last week, ABC News has reported. The 4 unions, including the American Federation of Government Employees, the National Association of Government Employees, and the American Federation of state, county, and municipal employees argue that the OPM violated the Administrative Procedural Act by failing to provide a legal basis for the buyout offer and leaving open the possibility that the government might not follow through with the buyout once federal employees agree to resign. The lawsuit added that the buyout's promise of payments through September violates the law because of the current appropriation for federal agencies expires in March. Moreover, the buyout is unfair because it was made alongside a threat of future layoffs, the lawsuit said. The buyout offer that is part of Elon Musk's effort to trim the size of government through the newly reformed Department of Efficiency known as DOGE was sent out under the subject line, quote, fork in the road, the same language Musk used when he slashed jobs at Twitter after taking over that company in 2022, quote, to leverage employees into accepting the offer and resigning. The fork directive threatens employees with eventual job loss in the event that they refuse to resign, end quote, the union's lawsuit said. Overall, the lawsuit alleged that the OPM rushed the offer with a questionable legal basis, largely mimicking Elon Musk's management style following his takeover of Twitter. Quote, OPM's rapid adaptation of Musk's private sector program confirms that the agency took very little time to consider the suitability of applying an approach used with questionable success in a single for-profit entity to the entirety of the federal workforce, end quote, the lawsuit said. Well, everyone, that is going to conclude it for today's video. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure that you consider liking, commenting, subscribing, as well as sharing out the video. It'll help me out a huge heck of a lot. And it'll especially help the channel grow a huge heck of a lot in reaching its current goal of 90 subscribers. We are at 78 subscribers, which means we need 12 more subscribers to go before we reach the channel goal of 90 subscribers. Last but not least, if you guys have not hit the bell icon, what that is right next to the subscribe button, please do so, so that way you do not miss a brand new video or miss a notification that I've posted a brand new video. Last but not least, if you guys have not followed me on my other socials, which are Snapchat, Instagram, and Threads, please do so. There is where I will be posting, as well as favorites eventually, updates of when I have posted a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.